Hello, audience. Hope to find everyone doing well. This is Jeff Kukral talking regarding our Week 4 assignment, Managing Ethical Boundaries Between Children and Their Parents, which seemed like a very hard thing to do. However, I find that it's very easy because I have a very well thought out plan of attack. So today's assignment, what we're going to do is talk about Jimmy, who's age 14, as in the vignette. I'm going to read it verbatim really quick as the intro, but basically, at intake session for Jimmy, age 14, we meet both him and his parents. They report that Jimmy is a great kid, but are worried because his grades have dropped and they think he spends too much time alone in his room. Don't we all sometimes? Especially now during the pandemic. To them, this seems distant and moody. He's a 14-year-old kid. But they're also worried about the impact the behavior is having on the two younger sisters, age 9 and 6. We do not know their names. So I'm going to call them Martha and Martha 2. That's all we know about Martha and Martha 2. But after a break, we take a few minutes to meet with Jimmy while his parents are await in the waiting room. This is exactly how I do it. When you ask him about all the time he spends alone, he says that he is mostly spending texting girls, 14-year-old boy. While getting to know Jimmy, he also disclosed that he has smoked pot a few times a week since last summer, and his parents do not know. Now, once again, I want to reiterate, this is how I do my stuff. I underline it. He smokes about a few times a week since last summer, so I'm going to assume, without talking to Jimmy right now, maybe 2 or 3 times a week, maybe on the weekends. As soon as he says it, he becomes nervous and asks you not to tell his parents because they would kill me if they found out. So the rest of the slides here, we're going to talk about why his parents aren't going to kill him. Because as his therapist, I'm going to help him out. Anyhow, thank you very much. I'm glad that you're listening to this, and on to the next slide.
Thank you for continuing on with me. On this slide, we're going to talk about the ethical issues. We're going to kind of describe what's going on, or as specifically as the question asks, consider any ethical issues and identify that I can identify, and be sure to cite the portions of the Code of Ethics. Well, first of all, I want to talk about I follow the AMFT. However, I'm pretty much guided by the California Association of Marriage and Family Therapists, or CAMF. They're California's version of the AAMFT. They're who I have my insurance through. They're who I follow very closely with, and they're also the ones who provide me the free legal service. Yay! So that's good. So whenever I get any kind of legal backing, I call them up for free. It's great as a student. I suggest it to everyone. Anyhow, so what we're talking about is the Code of Ethics in California. With the CAMP, we have an entire section 2 of confidentiality. 2.1 Disclosure of confidential information. Marriage and family therapists do not disclose client-patient confidences, including the names or identities of their clients or patients, to anyone except as mandated by law, as permitted by law, and when the marriage and family therapist is a defendant in a civil, criminal, or disciplinary action from the therapy, arising from the therapy, in which case client-patient confidentials may only be disclosed in the course of that action. Or if there is an authorization previously obtained in writing, such information may only then be revealed in accordance with the terms of the authorization. Very long, but basically, it comes down to the major ethical question. Who is my client? Who am I here to serve? I'm not here to serve the mom, dad in this, with Jimmy. I'm here to serve Jimmy. Jimmy is 14 years old, is of age in California where he could actually consent to his own therapy. Now, granted, the little caveat is he has to pay for it if he came in, but he is able to do that. So I would consider him my client, not the parents. I mean, they bring him in, they're concerned about him, and they're looking at, what's going on, but he's my client. So what I do, start off with any kind of intake form, any kind of call, I let them know that the child will be my client and everything will be confidential as long as you're not in the room. And this is part of the research here with Dr. McCarthy, who is referenced in my reference slide, but she's a doctor. When she has a young teen that comes in, she says this: anything you tell me is confidential, and your parent won't be able to read the note I write. If you tell me anything I think your parent should know, we will talk about how to tell them. I won't go behind your back. Direct quote from Dr. McCarthy from the paper. very closely lines with what I tell my clients. When they come in together, I do bring mom, dad, or any family member that wants to into that initial session, but I tell them it's only going to be about 10 or 15 minutes just to go over the legal stuff, where I go over, hey, paying here, this is the, time frame, 15-minute sessions, so on and so forth, basically the intro piece. And then I ask the parents to leave. But before they do, I tell them anything that happens when that door is closed is confidential. It's between me and the client. And so when they leave, they know that they can ask me. If they ask me how the kid is doing, I tell them, hey, they're doing fine, or hey, we're still working on some issues. That's all I tell them, and that's why I tell them. That's why I tell them in advance, because I don't want them asking, because it breaks my ability to treat that client. So that's where I'm at. Those are the ethical considerations. I need to keep it private. I need to form that relationship, and I need them to be able to tell me. Now, in this case, Jimmy's going to tell me we're going to work on some ways, and for him to tell his parents or to seek treatment before it gets out of hand, if it's even getting out of hand, quite honestly. I mean, can we just work on his self-esteem, whatnot? Well, that's yet to be discovered. And on to the next slide. In this slide, we're going to talk about the second part of the question. Describe your decision-making process to reach your therapeutic decisions. Be sure to use your MFT treatment theory to help you assess what you do. And I am so excited that we get to talk about this. As far as my decision-making process to reach my therapeutic goals, our decisions, we are going to, I want to start basically with the informed consent. This is my start. This is my my first 10 seconds. You know how during an interview, they always say that when you meet up with your potential employer, it's those first 10 seconds or so, or when you first meet someone, it's the first 3 seconds or so where you connect with someone, and if not after that, or even if you're just turning in a resume, it's like first couple seconds, or it goes into the round bin. Same thing here is with your informed consent. When you first talk or meet with your potential clients, you want to get them to understand what's going on. So when I bring in the entire family, all parties involved, the purpose of it is to go over, all the payments, all the 50 minutes, as I stated earlier, but it's also to go over the informed consent part and the confidentiality, where I'm going to go over and ask the parents, tell me what's going on. And then, by the way, after you're done, when you are out of this room, I'm going to talk to your kid, your son in this case, or your daughter in some cases, and what they tell me is going to be absolutely secret between them and me. I'm not going to let them get hurt. I'm not going to do anything for that, and I will let them know if there's anything, that needs to be done that's going to that cause harm to their kid or to someone else. Of course, that's the only reason I'm going to break the confidentiality. Other than that, though, for me to help them get better or reach any goals, we're going to have the complete confidentiality at that point. So that's my first step. That is my one and only part of my decision making process from that point. After that, the parents leave. I get them out of there, and I reiterate with my new client the confidentiality. I want them to build that trust. Now, that's the key part. They have to be able to trust you when you're talking to them, that you're not going to go blab them out. You're not going to cut them behind the back. And so that's my point. We'll sit there. I've had clients before in my past where they didn't feel like talking. I'm like, okay, you're going to be coming here week after week. Your parents are going to make you come here. That's fine. I have work to do. But I'm not going to tell them anything that you tell me. So we sit there for a few sessions, 1 or 2, and we don't do a thing. Or I mean, I do notes and homework for other clients, but and then they start opening up. This specifically happened with one young, white, rich, entitled boy, and I do say that because his parents had like 4 Maseratis and an expensive house and expensive party. He was entitled. He didn't want to be at therapy. But I did the same thing, brought them in, told them, I'm not going to tell you anything goes on, went over paperwork, sat down there with the kid. First few sessions, he didn't say a word. Then he started talking. He started opening up a little bit. So he had car magazines. I knew he liked cars, so I brought them in. we open that conversation. From that point, with most of my clients, and specifically at one example, I would start then with my solution-focused narrative therapy. I want them to open up. I want them to tell me what their goals are, or reiterate what the parents think the goals should be. And then the narrative part, they tell me what's going on. It works as a tool, allows them to report, back, hey, they had a goal, they wanted to increase their grades, so they can say back, hey, mom, with these tools, or dad, with these tools, I've been increasing my grades. So they're able to report back. Everyone seems happy. After that point, once we start reaching some of those goals, we're going to look for the underlying issues. And that's where I bring in my redecision therapy from the Goldings, inspired by Virginia Satir. uh, where we go back in time, we go back to parts that maybe, some harming or major issue where they can redecide how they're feeling about it. For example, this is the one I always give is, you bring home a report card as a child, you show it to your parents, and then, your parent, your dad, usually it's the dad, I don't know why, but the dad, says he's disappointed in you, and that from that point, that has built a character trait in you that we always feel bad about yourself. So what we do is we go back to that time and we redecide where, hey, you're still working hard, you're still here, you're still who you are, regardless of that grade. You're still trying. So we're able to go back. And some of my younger clients I can't use redecision therapy on because they don't have enough life experience to get that point. That's the important part of the life redecision therapy. So it depends. If not, we continue with solution focused. There's nothing wrong with that, and we're able to accomplish our goals. On to the next slide. So we're on the last question here and discuss how we'll implement our choices in ways that help clients continue to benefit from therapy. Sorry, I read off a paper. Uh, well, at this point, assuming that the client is being happy and we're showing progress, that's the most important thing. I think what we're doing is great. Sitting down with the client, working over his issues, his or her issues, or in this case, it's Jimmy's, so his issues. And as long as we're able to report back to the parents or have him do it, we're able to continue with what we're doing. Usually, by this time, if we're doing solution focus, we've come up with designs. Like one of his problems is his parents are always jumping on him for being in his room. So, what if we take an hour and say that he has to come out and hang out with his family? That's one solution. Or if it's something different, is he doesn't want to be with his family because of feeling of depression, feeling of not being loved or welcome in the family, then we do some redecision, go back to that because I'm sure that they do, or the parents wouldn't have brought him in. It doesn't seem like they only care about their 9 and 6-year-old daughters. They care about Jimmy, so that's important to do. By this time, I would have kept up the relationship with Jimmy. He would have grown in his trust to me. So I believe that that is important for it to continue with any kind of therapeutic process. So Jimmy's happy, but now what about the parents? The only reason we do this is because the parents are going to be continuing to bring him back. If they don't feel a need, they will stop paying. They will stop bringing him because he's only 14. He can't drive. So we need them on board. But I can't tell them anything about the therapeutic sessions unless I have Jimmy's permission. So by this time, a couple weeks in, if we're making some goals and there is something positive to be seen, I have no problem asking Jimmy, would it be okay to bring your mom or dad or both in, have them sit down, we go over some more things, maybe we discuss it as a different step that we're going to do. As long as I have Jimmy's permission, the parents can know anything if they want to know. So bringing them into a session at that point to go over what we're doing is great. Anytime the door is closed, it's secret and private. So if the parents are in there and it's with Jimmy's okay, it's free game. If they leave, same thing, can't tell them. If that's not going to work, if Jimmy doesn't feel comfortable with that, then we work on ways that Jimmy can communicate with him when he leaves, and it continues that therapeutic process. We're still showing, we're still honoring that relationship, and he's building a relationship with his parents. So that's a good thing. Last point is if I can't get Jimmy to talk to his parents, tell him what he's doing, and if I can't let the parents come into session, what has been done, then what about having the parents write down questions for me? Okay. And so parents ask, question A, question B, question C. So I'm sitting down with Jimmy in our confidential room, and I say, hey, your parents want me to tell them A, B, and C. Can I tell them A? If I get Jimmy's okay, yeah, because it might be just like, how's he doing? Is he thinking he's going to hurt himself? Well, I can tell them no. Jimmy told me he's not hurting himself. He allowed me permission to tell you. Here's A. Then Jimmy, can I they ask question B, can I tell them? I don't want you to talk about B. Okay, we won't talk about B. And then, same thing with C. Can I tell them yes or no? So that's how we go. And that's how I continue with that to keep them in therapy and to keep the benefit up. Because coming in, talking about your issues is the most important. I mean, that's what it boils down for me. If you're able to talk to someone with confidentiality, with trust, and knowing that you can get things off your chest, that's the foundation to any kind of therapeutic relationship and healing. So, anyhow, thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope you have a great day.